we're going to break down a powerful framework for tackling one of the biggest problems online today. How do you get heard when literally everyone is shouting? This isn't just about a better content strategy. No, this is about building a voice that is so distinct, so human, that both the algorithms and the audience have to stop and listen. Just think about this. In the time it takes you to watch this intro, about 60 seconds, 3 million blog posts will go live. 1 billion comments will be fired off on social media. I mean, just let that number sink in. That's not just noise. It's a digital tsunami. It means that for any piece of content you create, its default setting is, well, it's invisibility. Just being good doesn't cut it anymore, not even close. And here's the really brutal truth, the part that's kind of hard to believe. 99% of all that stuff will be completely invisible. It'll just vanish into the digital ether, never seen, never heard. And here's the kicker. It's not because the content is bad or wrong or not well researched. It's because it's safe. And safe content is generic. It's predictable. It's scared to have a real point of view. It's made to not offend anyone. And in the end, it doesn't inspire anyone either. And that really gets to the core of what I call the synthetic sameness trap. You see it everywhere. So many brands think that to be seen as professional, they have to be completely neutral. So they stand off all their interesting edges, they strip out any real personality, all in the hopes of appealing to, well, everyone. But what happens? They become digital wallpaper. They just blend into the background and you can't tell them apart from anyone else. They're paying for attention they can never hold because there's no soul, there's nothing human for an audience to actually connect with. So this is the big mental shift we have to make. Information itself, it's a commodity now. Anyone can get it. But a unique perspective, that's a luxury good. The whole game has to change from being just another source of data to being a source of identity. You want to be a voice that people can actually see themselves in, a perspective that clicks with what they believe. And to do that, you need a whole new architecture, a new way to think about building a voice. Because one thing an algorithm can't copy is a personality it can't ignore. So here's our roadmap. We're going to walk through 6 key ideas to really get this new way of thinking. We'll start with the invisibility paradox, then look at what I call the great information collapse. From there, we'll break down the resonance engine itself, explore the psychology of belonging, show you how to build your own vocal moat, and finally tie it all back to that basic need for a real human connection. Now, to really understand why having a strong voice is so non-negotiable right now, we've got to go back in time a little bit. This isn't just a history lesson, though. This is the origin story of the very problem we're all dealing with. Getting this part is key to understanding the solution. It's about a moment that basically changed the rules of the game for everybody. You see, before 2024, the game was all about authority. The whole sage on the stage model. It worked. If you had the facts, if you had the resources, you could win. But then, it happened. The information collapse. AI got so good that it could spit out perfect, authoritative-sounding content in a split second on pretty much any topic. All of a sudden, everyone could publish the ultimate guide to everything. And you know what happens when everyone's an expert? No one is. The whole foundation of content marketing just crumbled. And something new, something much more human, had to rise up and take its place. And that was personality. The data from that time was, well, it was just brutal for the big established players. You had these massive brands with huge budgets and entire communications departments, and their engagement was just falling off a cliff. So who was winning? Literally, teenagers in their bedrooms with a webcam. Why? It's actually pretty simple. The teenagers had a soul. The brands had a template. The creators had quirks, they made mistakes, they had a real point of view. The thing that became the key differentiator wasn't being polished and perfect anymore. It was having human texture. And this is the moment when everything really changed. Having a content personality stopped being this kind of fluffy, creative extra. It became a serious, measurable, strategic discipline. The smartest companies out there realized that having a strong, unique point of view was way more valuable than just listing product features. The whole mindset shifted. Your content didn't just need to be useful. It had to be unmistakably, instantly you. And then, of course, the data came in to prove it. A new way of measuring this emerged, called the Distinctiveness Quotient, or DQ. Basically, it's a score for how unique and recognizable a brand's voice is. And the results? They were absolutely staggering. Brands with a high DQ scored 600% higher on what's called Parasocial Equity. Now, that's just a fancy term for the one-sided relationship audiences form with a personality or a brand. It's that feeling of connection, like you know them. It's loyalty. And the data was crystal clear. A distinct voice was the fastest way to build it. This wasn't just art anymore. It was a cold, hard, quantifiable business strategy. So the big takeaway from that whole era is massive. The market didn't just evolve, it flipped. It went from being about broadcasting information to being about resonating with an audience. It became obvious that what people were really looking for in that endless sea of noise was a story they could actually see themselves in. Okay, so we've seen how the world has changed, making a unique voice not just a nice to have, but a flat-out necessity for survival. So now let's get into the how. We're gonna pop the hood on the machine that makes this all possible, the Resonance Engine. And this isn't some simple style guide. This is a powerful 4-stage system designed to build character and connection right from the very beginning. The engine works in 4 clear stages, and each one builds on the one before it. First, you have to choose your foundational role, your archetype. This is the absolute core of your personality. Then, you use that archetype to find unique perspective, a way of looking at the world that makes you stand out. From there, you build your vocal texture, the specific rhythm, the words, the style that makes your voice yours and nobody else's. And finally, you use that voice to create parasocial depth, which is that deep sense of community and belonging for your audience. Let's break each of those down. Stage 1, choosing your archetype, is by far the most important decision you'll make. See, you don't just find a voice, you have to consciously choose a role to play. This idea comes from Jungian psychology, this idea that there are these universal, timeless characters that we all just instinctively understand. They're like the basic roles in any human story. So who are you? Are you the rebel, here to shake things up? Are you the sage, here to share hard-earned wisdom? Or are you the magician, here to make amazing transformations look easy? Now, what's so cool about this is that each archetype basically comes with its own rulebook. If you choose to be the rebel, your whole reason for being is liberation, so your language always has to be challenging the way things are done. Think about a brand like Liquid Death. If you're the sage, your goal is understanding, so your voice has to deliver those tough but necessary truths. And if you're the magician, you're all about transformation, so your language has to make really complex things feel simple and even magical, like the software company Linear does. When you commit to an archetype, it actually defines what you say and what you don't say, and that gives your voice this incredible consistency. And the other stages just flow right from that foundation. The perspective pivot is all about using your chosen archetype to find those sacred cows in your industry. You know, the things everyone believes without question, and then you challenge them. That's how you carve out your unique point of view. Then vocal texture gets into the nitty-gritty of your language, the rhythm of your sentences, the slang you use, the metaphors that are just yours. It's what makes your voice sound like you. And finally, parasocial depth is where you use that voice to create an in-group, a real community of people who feel connected to your message and, just as importantly, to each other. Okay, so we've taken the engine apart. We've seen the what and the how. But the real magic of this whole framework comes when you understand the why. You know, why does this actually work so well? And the answer is deep in our psychology. It works because it taps into some of the most basic, powerful drivers of what makes us human. At its heart, this whole system is built on something called social identity theory. All that means is that a huge part of who we think we are comes from the groups we belong to. Our brains are basically running on ancient software, right? We're hardwired for survival, and a key part of that is finding our tribe. So, when we hear a voice that isn't neutral, a voice that takes a stand and has some sharp edges, it triggers this really primal question deep in our brain. Is this person one of us? And if the answer to that question is yes, well, that's when a huge psychological shift happens. We're no longer just a passive consumer of someone's content, we become an active member of a community. Reading a blog post isn't just about getting information anymore, it becomes an act of reinforcing our own identity, our sense of where we belong. We feel seen, we feel understood, and that creates a bond that is so much deeper and stronger than any traditional marketing could ever hope to build. And that works hand in hand with another fascinating psychological idea called the Pratfall Effect. Basically, studies show that we actually tend to like people or brands more after they make a mistake. Think about it. We are so exhausted by that flawless, perfect corporate front. It just feels fake and untrustworthy. So when a brand or a creator shows their flaws, when they admit they messed up, when they speak with a voice that's raw and honest, it just shatters our skepticism. A little bit of imperfection actually builds way more trust than polished PR ever could. This just nails it, doesn't it? This isn't about manipulating people. It's about realizing that we're all just looking for mirrors out there. We follow the leaders and brands that we see a piece of ourselves in. Every single engagement metric we track, every like, every share, every comment, is just a tiny data point that represents a real human being making a choice to connect, to belong, and to become a part of the story.
All right, we've gone through the theory, we've dug into the psychology. Now it's time to get practical. Let's talk about application, how you actually build this thing for yourself. Because knowing the ideas is one thing, but putting them to work is what really matters. This is about turning these concepts into a real, defensible asset for your brand, a vocal moat that protects you and makes you impossible to copy. We can break the whole process down into 3 really actionable steps. First, you have to map the shadow. That means finding the unspoken truths you've been avoiding, because that's where your most unique voice is hiding. Second, you architect the archetype. You deliberately and consciously choose your role, and you commit to it 100%. And third, you inject polarization. You have to get comfortable with the fact that you can't be for everyone, and you shouldn't try to be. A strong identity will always attract some people and, yes, repel others. Let's really focus on that first step for a second, because honestly, it's the most powerful one. We're always told to think about what our audience wants to hear, but the real power is in the exact opposite direction. Stop asking what you should say. Instead, ask yourself this: what am I afraid to say? What's the ugly, inconvenient, unspoken truth about my industry that nobody wants to admit? The answer to that question, that's where your authentic, impossible to copy voice lives. Now, once you find that voice, you have to protect it like a fortress. And that's where the Distinctiveness Quotient audit comes in. It's a dead simple but incredibly ruthless rule. Before you publish anything, you have to ask yourself, could my biggest competitor have published this? And if the answer is yes, you delete it. It's not distinct enough. It's not you. It's a really powerful filter that stops you from slowly sliding back into that synthetic sameness trap. And that leads us to the final and maybe the most difficult step of all: injecting polarization. Now, this is not about being a jerk or being controversial just for the sake of it. Not at all. It's about having a point of view that is so strong it naturally creates a line in the sand between people who get it and people who don't. We're all wired to want approval, to be liked. But a voice that tries to please everyone ends up resonating with no one. A lack of any negative feedback isn't a sign you're succeeding. It's a sign you're invisible. If nobody strongly disagrees with you, it probably means nobody strongly agrees with you either. So the path is actually pretty clear. It's a journey that takes you from being a cold, sterile brand and turns you into a passionate movement. It starts inside by finding your truth. Then it moves into creation, where you build your character around that truth. And finally, it ends in connection, where that character goes out into the world and finds its people. At the end of the day, this entire framework, all these ideas, are about bridging 2 very different worlds: the cold, hard logic of data and the warm, often messy reality of what it means to be human. So let's tie everything we've talked about together and find that core lesson that sits at the very heart of it all. On the one hand, you've got the math. The spreadsheets will tell you a clear story. Higher parasocial equity leads to higher lifetime value for customers and lower churn. The business case is undeniable. But the human truth that powers all those numbers is much simpler and way more profound. We don't want to be marketed to. We just want to be understood. And that's really what this is all about. In an age of synthetic media, AI, and automation everywhere, designing a voice that is unapologetically, authentically human is the ultimate advantage. It's how you prove that behind the logo, behind the website, behind the screen, there's a person, not just a program. So the thing to remember is that real, lasting growth isn't just a straight line going up and to the right. It's something you learn. It's something you earn. It's the result of doing the hard, deliberate work of building a bridge of true character over that massive, deafening canyon of noise. And that's the final idea I want to leave you with. The old way of doing things is over. The best marketing today doesn't push people through some rigid, mechanical funnel. It creates something so real, so valuable, and so resonant that it pulls people toward it. Naturally, enthusiastically, it pulls them toward value.